Hi, welcome to DEFCON 3. I'm KT McFarland. The recent Syrian peace talks in Geneva have broken down with no conclusion. It looks like the Syrian civil war is going to continue at least for the next near term. Joining us today to talk about the situation in Syria, and particularly the plight of Christians in Syria and the Middle East, are two gentlemen who are in Washington to talk about what's going on in the Syrian civil war. It's Reverend Riyad Jarjour. He's a Presbyterian clergyman from Homs, Syria, which is where a lot of the violence has taken place, and also His Excellency Bishop Jean Kawak. He's the Metropolitan of the Syrian Orthodox Church. Let me ask the two of you, first, since the Syrian civil war doesn't look like it's ending anytime soon, what has been the plight of Christians throughout Syria? And why don't we turn to you first, Bishop?
You know, talking about the Christian in Syria, it is a very difficult question, but first of all, we need to say and stress it very well that at the beginning of the Syrian crisis, we didn't have a real problem against the Christians, but nowadays, because of the growing of the fanatic and radical groups, the Christians, they have been targeted in many places, such as Malula, next to Damascus, and in the suburb of also Homs in Sadad, and many other places. Then, and also the Christians have been targeted because not only because they are Christian, but because all the minorities and even the moderate Muslim, they are targeting by the radical groups or fanatic groups.
Okay, Reverend Jarjour, your parish is in Homs, Syria. Have your parishioners been under attack personally? Have you known some of your people to be persecuted just because they're Christians?
Let me say that most of the churches in the city of Homs have been destroyed or burned, and the Christian quarter, in fact, in the city of Homs, has been the first to be attacked. And we had a big number of militants who have occupied that area, and this has led to the displacement of about 80,000 Christians who live in that Christian quarter. So, of course, for many Christians, when their church is being destroyed, when their church is being burned and attacked, and when the militants make it difficult for them, they cannot stay. Some of them were killed, others had to run away, and we have up till this moment about 80 of them who are being held as human shields inside that quarter, which is being surrounded by the militants. Definitely, if the Geneva talks does not end in a peaceful resolution that will end the violence and will end the war in Syria, we will witness more plights of the Christians. More of them will be internally displaced. More of them will be seeking refuge outside Syria. And we have been witnessing a lot of destruction of churches, not only in Homs, but all over Syria, in many areas, and especially by, as the bishop said, by radical groups, which make it insecure for them, which make it, for many Christians, feel they are being pressured, they are not accepted, and it is true also of other non-Christians, moderate Muslims or Alawites or others. And that's why I think that if the civil war or the war doesn't end in Syria, we will be witnessing a catastrophic outcome of that war, which I hope it will end now. But if it doesn't come to a resolution in the Geneva too, it may go for years to come.
Let me ask you then, what about Christians in the entire region? If this is the prospect of things in Syria, we've seen attacks against Christians throughout the region, the Coptic Christians, the Orthodox Christians in Egypt. Let me ask you, Bishop, what are you hearing from your counterparts throughout the region? Is Christianity under attack in the birthplace of Christianity?
I don't know exactly what I have to say here, but it is not to help the Christian within our region. It's very important to deal with the whole situation. Then we need from the West and America and the superpowers to do something to prevent the radical groups or the radical thoughts also. When we will have the peace in the area in the Middle East, and when we have stability, I think we will succeed to resolve the whole problems of radicalism and the political Islam. And then, as a result, the Christian will be safe in our area. But what's going on right now, I think somebody is helping the radical groups or the radical Islams, and those they are targeting everybody, and everybody will be under dangers in our area.
So to go back then, what you said, as far as the rebel groups are all targeting Christians and they're targeting everybody who's different, is the entire rebel movement then in Syria something that threatens Christianity? I guess what I'm trying to get to is, do you have to take sides? Are you being forced as Christians to take sides? And if so, which side do you take?
You mean as Christians? At the beginning of the Syrian crisis, the Christian, they tried to be neutral, but at the same time we were for some changement in our political system. But with time, and when we discovered that it is in somehow an Islamic movement, we stepped a little bit back, and we tried to talk about a peaceful talks, and we tried also to talk. We were always against any sort of violence, and we were always talking about a citizenship notion, and we were talking always about the peaceful and dialogue for the entire country. This is what. Yes.
Yeah, Reverend Georgiou, let me finish with you. What do you think the prospects are for the future of Christians in Syria?
Look at it. When I was General Secretary of the Middle East Council of Churches, I did hold two of the most important meetings for the church leadership in the Middle East in '86 and in 96 and in 99. Our major emphasis was how to maintain a Christian presence in the Arab world and the Middle East. And even at that time, we didn't feel comfortable, but we said we need to continue our Christian presence and witness in this region where we are as an indigenous people of it. And at that time, we said we want to continue this Christian presence and witness in our Muslim context and with our Muslim brothers and sisters in the region. Unfortunately, in the last 3-4 years, and since what is called the Arab Revolution or that took place, we have been suffering from many problems that has affected us. Now our Christian people, they don't feel they are comfortable anymore. The Christians of Iraq already are under pressure, and they are the scapegoat or the fighting taking place between the Sunni and the Shia, or between Al-Qaeda, or between two of these people, and more than 70% have left. The same is true now taking place in Syria. We have many places in Syria where radical groups have taken control of, and many of the Christians left. We have now many areas where there are no more Christians in it. Many churches have been emptied. They were, of course, are being used for other purposes by the militants. And the same, I would say, is true also for Coptic Christians in Egypt, who don't feel they are having peace and security anymore. Every Christian in the Arab world today want to seek security and peace. In my humble opinion, we Christians of the Arab world, we would like to stay and continue our Christian presence and witness, and that also could be with our Muslim brothers and sisters. But at the same time, there has to be a way where we are being helped to be not only accepted, but to be treated on equal rights, with full equal citizenship and also be partners with whoever is to enable reform towards democracy and peace building, so we can stay and we don't have to escape and leave the region. We don't want to leave the region. We want to stay. But let us find a way with all those who would like to see that peace and justice and equality and equal rights of minorities take place in the Middle East.
Well, very well said. And from your lips to God's ears, both of you. Reverend Riaz Arjur is a Presbyterian clergyman from Homs, Syria, and His Excellency Bishop Dionysius Jean Kawak, who's a metropolitan of the Syrian Orthodox Church. They're both in Washington to talk about what's happening and to talk to lawmakers and State Department officials and others about what's happening to Christians in the Middle East, but specifically in Syria. Godspeed to both of you. Thank you.
Thank
you very much.
Thank you.
That's it for
Thank you.
DEF CON 3. Thanks for joining us.